the federal government and the pharmaceutical company that developed mefloquine are trying to shut down a lawsuit launched in 2001 on behalf of veterans who believe the anti-malaria drug they were forced to take while deployed to Somalia caused them irreversible brain damage. The government and Hoffmann La Roche argue there is a substantial risk that a fair trial would not be possible as a result of the time that has passed. The plaintiffs have not taken any steps in the case for 17 years and they now require leave of the court to take the next step, certification, which the government opposes, the Defense Department said in an email on November 16. Story continues below advertisement. The case against Ottawa, Hoffmann La Roche and Barry Armstrong, one of the doctors who was part of the ill-fated Somalia peacekeeping mission in the 1990s, was launched on behalf of Ronald Smith, a former member of the now disbanded Canadian Airborne Regiment. According to Mr. Smith's statement of claim, the drug he was required to take in Somalia as part of a poorly executed clinical trial left him with a host of residual mental health issues, including depression, aggressive behavior, poor concentration, social isolation and suicidal thoughts. His lawyer, Wayne Stickland, will appear before an Ontario Superior Court judge in Mr. Smith's former hometown of North Bay on December 8 to argue that time should not prevent certification as a class action. Mr. Smith has always wanted his day in court, Mr. Stickland said, and that seems to be something that the government does not want to provide to him because of their procedural wrangling and their attempts to dismiss the motion. The government argues that Mr. Smith and his lawyers have not provided a reasonable explanation for the 17-year delay. Mr. Smith says the government owed a duty of care to all of the soldiers it sent on the mission. Instead, he says in his statement of claim, the military forced them to take mefloquine and ignored the rules of the clinical trial, which said the soldiers must provide consent and be advised of the risks, be told to abstain from alcohol, be monitored for adverse reactions and be treated for any side effects in a timely manner, among other things. Story continues below advertisement. Story continues below advertisement. 2 of the soldiers on that mission were charged in the beating death of a Somali teen, and many others complained of alarming dreams, hallucinations and depression. After the mission drive, Armstrong was among those who expressed concerns publicly about the anti-malarial drug. In a post-deployment analysis, he said the failure of the United Nations forces in Somalia was rather exceptional, and I believe that a simple reason may exist. Canadian and American troops may have been impaired by the use of mefloquine. Mr. Smith's case was launched in 2001 at a time when less evidence of the drug's harmful effects was available. Little happened in the intervening years except for discussion among lawyers about who was prepared to take the matter to court. In 2016, Health Canada updated the warning labels for mefloquine to emphasize that certain side effects can persist for months or years after use of the drug is discontinued and may be permanent in some patients.